Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm Riaz and today in my program my guest is Sakher Edris. He is Secretary General of Syrian Journalists Association. I want to talk to him the situation of the Syria and the war situation in the Syria and was journalists facing our problem. I want to discuss with him. Thank you very much, Mr. Sakher Edris. You gave us time. First of all, we want to know what is your career and how did you start journalism in your country?
You mean my personal career now?
Yeah.
And actually, I did not start it in my country because I left my country since very long time due to a political situation. I left my country in 1991. 1991. My father was a political detainee for 18 years. My uncle also, my elder uncle, he ran away from Syria in 1970. So once I got my high school certificate, I left Syria and I finished my education at London City College. Then I started working in media as a freelance since I was it was started in 96, 97. Then I started to work with the media in Dubai. I work with the Sama Dubai TV. I work with the Al-Ittihad newspaper, the governmental newspaper in Abu Dhabi. Then Al Arabiya, I joined Al Arabiya TV. Also, I used to produce programs and writing an article in different media outlets. Producing programs and organizing events.
Why did you leave and your parents and your family leave Syria?
No, I told you I left due to a political situation. When I left Syria...
Means I want to know what was the political situation? It was this much against you and your family you left Syria?
Not only my family, anyone. Actually, see, the issue... the suppression and oppression in Syria, it's a history since Hafez al-Assad started ruling the country. It's not new. So my father was detained in 1974. My uncle also in 1975. My elder uncle, he ran away from Syria in 1971, even before my birth. So it was not only my family. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of families.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
They left Syria because of the political situation. Now the political situation, sir, take my question. Now the political situation is in your favor. You are back in Syria.
No, I'm not in Syria now. Now I'm in France.
You're talking from France.
Yeah.
So how have you become the Secretary General of your association? Because the association represents those who lives in the ground. You are not on the ground.
Exactly. No. See, the association is, you said, represent who are on the ground. The Syrian Journalists Association was founded in 2012. It has contributed to establish a professional code of ethics for Syrian journalists. Mm-hmm. The media in Syria, it was state media. State media. There was no freedom of expression. No journalist can dare or really dares to write his views or to write an article to criticize the corruption, for example, because we lost a lot of journalists in Syria due to their detention and their death and their torture. So this Syrian Journalists Association was founded in 2012 to really empower the rule of freedom of expression and press in Syria, as well as developing the professional skills for the sector, and primarily
you founded this association staying outside the country.
No, I'm not. I did not found it. I was one of it was founded. About 100 journalists they founded.
They are living in Syria.
Yeah, some of them they live in Syria, but some of them they left Syria due to they left Syria because of the suppression and oppression, and they escaped actually for their lives because they were traced by the regime, the Syrian regime in the beginning, and after that they were traced by the extremists in Syria.
So you are not in favor of Bashar al-Assad?
It's not matter of favor in Bashar al-Assad. I'm in favor of the people. I'm with the people, with my people, regardless of any who rules the country. I'm with my people. Actually, this is what I want to say.
See,
It's
there,
not.
there is a difference of interest in your region. American interest is not to see Bashar al-Assad in power. You are with American point of view. Is it not true?
Well, no, I'm not with the point of America or other countries. I'm with the point of my people. I want to tell you, and the politics is actually it's a game. We know that someone with you today, tomorrow the same is against you. So it's not matter. You cannot say I'm with the point of America. I'm with the point of the people. When the people, when you cannot work freely in Syria, that means there is something wrong. So you cannot say that I'm at the point with America. Why you cannot? Why you don't say I'm with the point of the people? I
Let,
want
let,
them.
let me give you the example of the other Arabian states like
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, like UAE. There also you cannot speak whatever you want to. You cannot
I,
write whatever you want to. But the Americans are not against with them.
I'm talking here about my country. I'm Syrian.
Yes, you
So
are
my
Syrian.
cause,
I'm asking.
yeah,
I'm asking the
cause,
question. I'm
my cause,
asking.
my issue is Syria. My principle is Syria. My cause is Syria here. And
No,
I don't even in
I
my
just
art,
I just
in
want to
my
know your point
my
of view. I just
my.
want to know. Let me complete my question. I just want to know your point of view about American double policy, double standard. America is not against those countries who are in their favor, like Saudi Arabia, like UAE. There is also not expression freedom. So America is standing against Bashar al-Assad on what
Who
ground?
told, who told you they are standing against him?
It is just an impression.
No, no. America, they don't stand against anyone or pro anyone. America, they have their advantages, they have their political interest. And here, I'm talking as a Syrian, so the only country I care is Syria. I don't care about any other countries. So,
Okay, okay. I come to the journalistic question.
yeah,
What kind of problems journalists are facing in Syria?
journalists.
Yeah.
Well, the first problem, which is the main job of journalists, is freedom of expression and professional profession. But in Syria, there is a state media. You cannot go out of this umbrella. In addition to that, freedom of expression. If we have freedom of expression in Syria, you couldn't find 100,000 of political detainees. So I guess this is the main issue in Syria facing the journalists. The threat, when the government they threaten the journalists and they remove the journalists from their jobs for their for their articles or point of view. Well, this is the main threat that face the journalists everywhere, not only in Syria. That is the freedom of expression and press.
So, what kind of behavior they are facing from government if they are living in Syria and speaking against the government?
Well, of course, there'll be pressure on them and sometimes detain them and sometimes remove them from job. See, we have about now 400 members in Syrian Journalists Association.
400 members.
Yeah, most of
Out of 400, how many in Syria they are working and they are
what
facing these?
I want to say, most of them, they used to work in Syria in the past. They used to work in the Syrian news agency. They used to work in Syrian TV, governmental TV, in the governmental newspaper. So do you think those 400 members, and of course we have a lot of pending applications to verify them. So do you think those 400 members, they joined the Syrian Journalists Association because they have personal issues with the regime?
Where,
Or that,
where does your president live? Means you are living in France, you are in safe side, and the members of Syrian Journalists Association are in danger if they are living in Syria. Where
some
does
of
your
them they live in Syria, some of them live in Syria, but I want to ask you something. If you yourself now, you guarantee us to exist in Syria, we will be there. If you yourself now, if you guarantee us, now we will move there. Can you guarantee that?
no? This is not matter of my guarantee. This is the thing you have to decide where to work.
No,
I am not going to dictate you. I am just
not,
interviewing you.
it's exactly. So it's not matter of decide or not. You are talking about something, some issue in a stable country. So the question is here, as you ask, as long as you're asking me, of course, we have a lot of members in Syria, in different places in Syria, in different cities in Syria. But and by the way, I will tell you, the selection of board of Syrian Journalists Association, it's 100% by democracy.
Well,
It's elected by the
you have been
members.
elected, and when you were elected, and how you were elected.
Secretary General, it was election. Now it was hiring from the board. Yeah, the board are elected member by member. We have 100% applying the democracy in election of
No, I
that.
want to know. I want to know when you are living out of Syria, how you were elected, how you were given vote by the member living in Syria or by the member living outside the Syria.
all all members. This 100% election for all members, and every
How
member.
how did you hold the election? I want to know the procedure.
What do you mean? How we do to make the
Means
election?
how it was a ballot election. It was showing hand election. It was just voicing election. How did you manage it?
A normal election, we have election committee. They
Balloting, balloting election.
election committee.
Okay.
Election committee, they decide to do that through online election, normal election, and of course there is monitoring for this election.
But
And we have two kind of members, associated members and primary members. So the election is only the entitled to elect are the primary members.
how do you meet the budget, and what is your budget annual?
There is nothing to do with budget in election, my dear.
No, in otherwise, if you want to hold any conference, if you want to hold any press coordination, you need to spend money. I want to know where that money comes from.
Okay, this money, it comes from, actually we have very, very, very core expenses, which is very low. Now we are getting membership from the members. We have membership, and also we offer training now, of course, somehow with a little bit paid money. We do training, and in addition to some donation from very, very non-political people. We don't accept donations from countries. We don't accept donation from political parties. We don't accept donation from any suspected party.
So you
Uh,
solely working for the
we,
liberalism of journalists.
exactly. We ask also sometimes. Now we have connection with the UN, United Nations. We're trying UNESCO, and we are trying to build kind of relationship to do that.
Right. Many of the journalists, like country Syria, they work this or they come to this profession because of many reasons. So they
Yeah.
are not professional journalists. How do you train them?
Well, no, I don't think your question is correct, because a lot of journalists are professional. So, and in case if there are some activists, or what do you call it, citizen journalists, of course we train them by organizing a workshop, sometimes in neighborhood countries, sometimes online. Now we develop a mechanism to make online training, and this mechanism not only developed by us, it was also by very professional. They supported to with doing that. So we are trying our best to train. We are issuing also kind of code of conducts. We have like a statute in the Syrian Journalist Association, which is this statute, of course, enabled us to be a member of IFJ, and I don't think that to be a member of IFJ, that means you are not professional. Of course, that means you reach the higher professional criteria to be a member of International Federation of Journalists.
Okay, Syria, most of the Syrian areas are war zones or conflict zones. What kind of problems journalists staying in Syria they are facing at the moment, you think?
They are unsecured, first of all. They cannot practice journalism freely. They are under threat from all sides. They are the target for every and each one, especially battalions and armed battalions. And I mean here, the armed battalions, all sides, whether Syrian regime as armed, whether the extremists as armed, or the terrorists as well as
Okay,
armed.
you mean to say you are facing danger from both sides, from the Syrian regime and from the extremist, both sides?
Of course, of course, of course, from all sides, not both even, from all sides. Even if you criticize some corruption in some organization, so you will be subjected to a threat.
So how do you train those journalists who are facing such type of problems or threats in their country? How do you train? They come out of the Syria to get training, or how do you train them?
As I told you, some of them, they are getting training in neighborhood countries, some of them in online training, and we already organized too many safety and security programs and workshops, some of them with IFJ, some of them with some specialized safety and security organizations. So yeah, we are trying to use every and each possibility to train them. As I told you, very hot area, so we are developing a new mechanism, new methods to train them. Whether online or physical training, it depends on the situation of the journalist and activist. It depends on their circumstances and their situations. Here, we are not in a very stable, not in a stable country. We are target for all of the people. We are target of all of the armed forces, whether regime, whether battalions, whether extremists, terrorists, any group of armed battalions. So we are trying to develop, we are trying to accommodate, adapt, and adopt every new and develop every new mechanism to do that.
Okay, one thing more. Should a journalist carry a political agenda?
Come again, please.
I want to know, a journalist should be a biased or should not be a biased?
Well, the journalist, of course, has to deal with the freedom of expression totally without being with any side, of course.
Oh, you don't think he should not be biased? Should he carry any political agenda?
No. The only agenda.
Okay, now come to another question. You are the Secretary General. You are the Secretary General of your association. If you come to know about any journalist, he is carrying a political agenda or he is a biased, what do you do with that, your member?
Well, this is what we do with the members. We try to see, as long as he is with the Syrian Journalists Association, he has to move everything out. We don't put them under pressure. We are supporting and making advocacy for freedom of expression. As long as that doesn't affect the association, we cannot put that under pressure, anyone under pressure, whether political views, religious views, but at least he has to be really adhere to the ethical of journalism and freedom of expression.
Do you think there is any newspaper or media group working in Syria is a bit independent working?
No,
No newspaper, no media group.
no,
So
no, no.
the journalists,
It,
the journalists
it,
working there. Let me complete my question, sir. The journalists working there, they are all working for foreign media.
no, here, can you be more specific? Which media you are talking?
I am talking about, you are saying there is a media. There is a media that belongs to government. Means
Yeah.
there are newspapers. Uh, don't you think there is any newspaper who is representing the right news?
See, I will tell you something. When the media, the Syrian media, I guess, first of all, before asking me this question, you have to verify the media itself. You have to take a look about the hate speech they produce. Because you cannot, if you want to see, to talk or to say your views or to write an article, you cannot be called a terrorist. The Syrian media, the regime's media, they call anyone against the regime is a terrorist, an extremist. So here, before asking me this question, I advise you to go to that media and to see also to have a look about the hate speech about anyone, whether he is civilized or uncivilized. I mean, civilian society or out of this civilian society, they call him terrorist and extremist. I will tell you something. The question is, when the revolution started in 2011, the Syrian regime started to detain the thinker, the intellectuals, and still they are inside jail. And they released the criminals. Those criminals, after some time, they created their own extremist groups, which is now we discover, and really I again advise you to go deeply in that. We discovered that those criminals and extremists, they are leading some battalions. In 2015, in November 2015, there was Ministry of Finance, the American Ministry of Finance, they published a report with evidence the connection between regimes, Daesh and Iran. That means those are like groups agreed with among themselves because they have interest among themselves to create this chaos. The only loser now in Syria, none of the Syrian regime or who are in the picture of the opposition. The only losers are now the civilians from both sides. This is what you have to understand.
No, one thing I stay here and I want to add another question. You found a connection with Iran and other countries. You did not find any connection with American and Western approaches.
What do you, I did not get your question. What do you mean?
You said you find a connection of those terrorists with Iran.
Yeah.
I am asking you why you did not find any connection of these forces with American forces or America?
No. I'm talking here about, of course, there are. Of course.
You did
See,
not name it. You did not. That's why I asked question.
No, you interrupt me. I'm talking here about evidences and reports. I'm talking, if you want to talk about, you are journalists, so you have to talk about reports here,
Okay.
about evidence.
Okay.
Of course, there is BBC, they published Dirty Game. If you go back to BBC, they published a game. They found in this investigation, there are a lot of connection with other countries, with all of the countries. I'm talking now about reports. I'm talking now about evidences. If you want to talk about connection, of course, there are a lot of connections. This is no clue about it. This is no clue about it. So as I told you in the beginning, it's a dirty game. So the victims, the only victims here now is the Syrian civilians, actually. This is what I'm saying since beginning, since now, till now, I'm thinking the only victims are Syrian from both sides, whether they are pro-regime or protesting the regime. See, protesting the regime is not a crime.
Right, right.
It's not
I
a crime.
agree.
They consider it is a crime. So the hate speech which is produced is really bad. Till yesterday, there was a Syrian actress. She died in Paris. She is against the regime. She protested, and she is very well known. She is very famous. She died 2 days. You go to the media of the regime. You cannot imagine the hate speech they are producing against this actress because she's a protest. So we are talking here to be fair, And you are, as a journalist, and I could see, sorry to say that, I could see you are pro-Assad and pro-Iran. But
No, no.
I,
My question is no. Stop it. Stop it.
let,
Stop it here.
let me
Please, please.
let,
Let me clear it. Let me clear it.
yeah.
I am a journalist. I will ask question from every side. I will ask question of every kind of question I should ask. I'm
Yeah,
asking you. If I ask a question, you should not put me to any side or to any camp. This is not fair.
yeah, but I mean, it's okay. This is the impression I got, as the impression you
No,
got. So
I'm
what I'm
asking question. I must ask questions. When you are
okay,
being interviewed, I
but
must
you
ask
have
questions.
idea. You have, as a journalist, you have to ask questions from all sides, not
Yeah.
only focusing on a specific side. Because as a journalist, you have to verify your questions. As I told you, the hate speech is produced against every and each and everyone. Well, see, as a journalist, we are against the weapons. We always fight weapons. Why we have three wanted bulletins for us? So this is what I want to say. A protest, a civilian and peaceful protest is not a crime. This regime, they consider it as a crime. That's why if the journalists saw that the Syrian Union, Journalist Union, that really express their needs and demands, they won't go out. They won't go out. And you have to listen to the all both sides, I guess, much better, because when they got the IFJ, International Federation of Journalists membership, the president of Syrian Journalist Union, he claimed that some group they try, which is, I guess he claimed
Okay.
that some
Don't you agree
journalists,
that? Don't you agree with that? Americans also have interest in your region.
well, it's not America only.
No,
Even
no. Just clarify my question. I'm moving forward to my question.
yeah,
First, tell me. Don't you think America has interest in your country?
here I told you is all countries have interest in my country, but I want to ask,
Okay.
if political,
Have you ever talked about the interest of the Americans, or you spoke against the interest of America?
as a journalist or a Syrian
Yeah, as a
journalist?
journalist, as a serious journalist.
Yeah, of course. We spoke not about America precisely. Why you are focusing on America, whereas a lot of countries, America, Russia, what are the two polars of the world now, America, Russia, and
I talked in the beginning. I think my question was in the beginning about America, about Iran and Russia. Now
yeah,
I'm
but
asking a question of America.
talking here about Syrian Journalists Association or about political issues or
No,
about this,
no,
because what I
both we are talking because without the political talk we cannot complete this discussion.
yeah, but here as I told you, we care about, and I repeat the same issue. If anyone can guarantee the existence of without cover, because most of the Syrian journalists as members now in Syria, they are undercover because they cannot really disclose their names because they were detained directly. So the main interest here now, it's the freedom of expression, I mean, the interview, and about the Syrian Journalists Association. This is what I got through you.
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
I talk in I'm journalist. I don't want to talk political views now because this is something totally different. And then you cannot introduce me as a Secretary General of Syrian Journalists Association. You can introduce me as a Syrian citizen only, which is something else. So if we are talking about journalism or Syrian Journalists Association as a journalist, we have, I guess, to be to be very clear about it. Political views, if I want to cut it off, all countries they have interest in Syria. all countries.
You always talk about talk against these interests or these countries.
Yeah, of course. As a journalist, of
You
course,
write columns.
of course, of course.
Okay, one
Now,
thing about your association. Uh, you said most of the members of your association, some of them are living in Syria, some of them out of the Syria. I
yeah,
want to know the member living in Syria. They are working for foreign media only.
for foreign media,
Who are they working for?
some of them they are working for foreign media. Some of them they are working for the new media that is started after 2011, which was funded by multinational organization and non-profit organization, which is some funded by UN, some funded by like organization, I guess you know them, some of them funded by syndicates. So yeah, because they don't have work.
They are working
Uh,
there for that media in their country. I mean, in Syria, they are working.
yeah, some of them in Syria, some of them out of Syria.
No, those new organization founded by some NGOs, uh,
Yeah.
where they were founded, they are founded in your country, Syria, or out of Syria.
No, some of them in Syria, some of them out of Syria. And as I told you, I want you really to verify that to work in Syria out of state media, it's a crime. You cannot work.
You have told me many times
Yeah,
this thing.
yeah. So why I'm reminded, because no one can work with the Syrian media, as I told you, with the regime media, because they put him under pressure. And we have a lot of members. They used to work with Syrian news agency, which is the governmental news agency. They were either removed or some of them he died under torture. Mus'ab al-Adallah, he died under torture in 2013.
Okay,
So
when you last visited Syria, if I talk about you,
well, due to my situation, I guess it was 2014. Sorry, 2004. Four.
and how long stayed you there?
Well, I used to stay very few days because
So,
every and each visit, we have the intelligence used to call us, or to call me, or to call some people like they have the same situation, and so to avoid this silly and inhuman practice, we used to not visit Syria, or I used to not visit Syria a lot.
so you are running this association sitting out of Syria and like a
Not
campaign,
no, right? Like a what?
like a campaign.
No, see, we in the board members, we have members out of Syria and we have members inside Syria. I'm talking about members, board members,
Oh,
board members.
okay.
So I'm not this.
What kind of government you want in Syria?
Well, a democratic government. Assad, he came. He did not come by election. We are a republic. We are not a kingdom. Assad, he did not come by election. Assad, he inherit the country from his father. So we want democratic country with election, normal election, freedom of expression, to respect the constitution and the law. Because there is a constitution in Syria. There is a law in Syria. There is a constitution, but there is no law. I mean, anyone can violate the law if he has connection with the intelligence or the Syrian regime. So this is normal dream of any citizen in every and each country, to have a democratic country. He can to respect the law, to be under the law, not above the law, as we used to be in Syria. Everyone, especially the connected people, they are above the law. They can break the law at any time. And I guess you can find that through Syrian media, also with the pro-regime media, when the connected people, they break the law till now. So my dream, Syria, is to be a democratic country, respect the people, respect the citizen, respect the freedom of expression, and that's all. I guess it's not in 2018. It's not a, those values should be there.
Okay,
Those
what do you understand by the freedom of expressions? I asked this question to the International Federation of Journalists President, Mr. Philippe Lerith. I
yeah.
asked this question, if you got a news which goes against your country or against the national interests of your country, will you publish that news or not? He said, I will not. So if I ask the same question to you, what do you say?
See, here the freedom of expression, it has a different definition and meaning. But sometimes when it comes to a security and national security, it depends on the journalist here. So if that a threat against the country and it can be solved internally, then it can different from journalist to another.
Same question
Uh,
I asked with the Danish president of journalists
yeah.
association. He replied that there should be a freedom of expression, uh, even
That's why I told you.
even if it hurts billions of people's thoughts or billions of people's faiths. I asked is in question in respect of the cartoons which were published in Denmark. So, what do you think about that? This sort of cartoons should be published, or is it comes under the definition of freedom of expression?
Well, I guess freedom of expression is responsibility here, because here we cannot claim the hate speech is a freedom of expression.
Hate
So,
speech. What do you mean by hate speech? He says the freedom of everybody has the right of freedom of speech. So, do you agree with
well,
him
well,
or not, as far as the boundaries of freedom of expression are concerned?
that's why I told you freedom of speech is a principle that it's a responsibility. I cannot go out of the street and, well, claim to kill people. Well, I say this is my freedom of expression. Or I am out to kill, for example, if I'm Muslim, to kill non-Muslim. Or if I'm not Muslim, to kill Muslims. This is freedom of expression. But also it's a hate speech. It's called for crimes. So that's why I told you in the beginning, freedom of expression is a moral responsibility. We have to respect it. We cannot say, well, because of freedom of expression, I have to call hate speech or to kill people or to kill the people who are not like me or not like, doesn't belong to my religion or to my ethnic or to my gender. No, it's not. Because freedom of expression, as recognized as a human right, if we want to go through a universal declaration of human rights, really to be aware of ethnic, religion, not to attack. In case if there is a criticism, you have to be a professional in that. You have to have your evidence, your proofs, but not to attack every and each one who doesn't doesn't belong to you.
That's great. That's great.
But
You have a
by
very logical
no,
approach about it.
so there is no absolute definition for a freedom of expression, frankly speaking. There is a responsibility should be with values. With values, you cannot say freedom of expression to without values. No, even the media itself, it has values. So you have to really to be committed to those values of the media. That's why I told you freedom of expression is our main concern in Syria, because Syria, for example, some journalists work in Syrian regime media, they really were calling, which is astonished, which was surprised, shocked us, calling to kill people who are against the regime. Come on, this is not journalism.
Yes, of course, you're right.
And it's a proof. If you want to go by photos, by videos, it's a proof that those journalists, pro-regime, they are working in regime's media. They were calling every and each one. So come on, this is not freedom of expression. This is not professionalism. So that's why we want to be media to have to differentiate between biased and biased media. So the biased media in Syria, it was totally biased media.
To play in
So
the
they are
hands of
trying to
just
build.
listen my question and have my question. I have only two last questions. One
Yeah.
is if you are playing in the hands of the against forces who are working against any country, what do you say to those journalists who are who are playing in the hands of enemies?
Well, this is really a critical and very important question. And here it's not only journalists. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they are in the hands of other countries. Well, I remind them that one day, even if they died, they will be under accountability. Their countries, their country has to be the main concern for them. The civilian peace, the civil peace, it has to be their main target. See, if you want to consider me as a citizen, I'm with the people. I'm against both battalions, against both sides who kills people. So the history in the future, we will be the history. And I guess the history now is not written by strongers. No, it's written by evidence, by internet, by people, by witnesses. In the past, the history was written by strongers, by winners. But now, no. Now there are a lot of evidences and proofs about who are the killers, who are the criminals.
Okay.
So I advise
Okay.
those people to really adhere to the oral and, to the moral and ethical human being.
Okay. How the social media is working in your country?
Well, what do you mean exactly by social media here? What do you
Social
mean
media on Facebook. They are people are
how it
interacted.
works? What do you mean by work? What do you mean by how it works?
I mean to say, are the people on social media on Facebook they are independently expressing their feelings or not?
Well, it depends whether you are inside Syria or outside Syria. If you are outside Syria, somehow, yeah, they are expressing. If they are inside Syria, they cannot because they are under threat, whether from the Syrian regime or, uh, if we want to call them relatively opposition battalions, they are or extremists or terrorists or not. No, who are in those areas, they cannot really express their feeling or their views. They are always under threat, and we always advise them to not write anything because, for example, someone in the Syrian regime area, he expressed his feeling. He went for 2 years and a half. Someone in other out of Syrian the territories out of Syrian regime control, they expressed their feeling. They disappeared. We know someone, he disappeared since about 7 months. We are trying to trace, really to know what happened about him. So it's not really, they don't have the freedom to write or express
Okay.
unless if they fake
Okay.
names.
Last question.
And
Last question.
yeah.
What party or which party do you think working for democracy in your country and it should come in power?
Well, to tell you frankly, uh, now, as a citizen, I will answer you. I don't trust any party,
You don't trust any party.
political parties, whether from pro-regime or against regime.
You
To
don't
tell
think
you,
there is. So, if you want democracy in your country, you have to have a party.
yeah, of course, but now they are see, the Syrian, they did not practice politics. The Syrian, since 1970, they did not practice politics. But before, by the way, before 1970, if you went back to the Syrian history, there was a democracy. But when Hafez al-Assad came to, to rule the country, he did eliminate all kind of democracy. So that's why after 50 years of a non-democracy country or non-political practicing country, so the Syrian, they have to learn now how to really practice the politics. So that's why it's not matter of I don't trust because they are corrupted. No, it's not only that. because they don't have the experience. You know, they don't have the experience how to practice the
So your dream,
politics.
how your dream would come true if you want
Actu-
democracy in your country and you say there are not political parties, they are not politically trained.
no, no,
So how would
there are. I told you there are now political
you don't
parties
trust any party? You said.
because they don't have experience now. But by accumulation of experience, I guess one day it will happen. But unfortunately, the entire international community, they don't support that because the international community, they don't want to solve the situation in Syria. I cannot understand how they find such killing in Syria and they don't do anything. Now we have about a few days back, 270 journalists, they were under international committee, they did not do anything. So a lot of Syrians, they died under torture and nothing happened. Don't tell me that the international community, see, when I'm saying international community, I mean here, not excluding any country. So I don't think the international community, they cannot really eliminate the terrorism or extremism in Syria in some areas, or they cannot stop the regime from killing and bombing the people. So that's why I'm telling you, I lost the faith and trust in that, because all countries, they have interest, and all countries, they follow their interest. And by the way, I want to finish with this. I don't blame international community because everyone looks for his own interest. I blame the Syrian only. I blame Syrian only because the Syrian has to work for their own country, regardless whether they are pro-regime or against regime. They have to work for own country, and we have to start to build the country and we have to start the civil peace building. We have to start the peace media also. We have to start this media. We have to start peace building media among Syrian. Doesn't mean if I have some views and you are against these views, I have to kill you. No, I have to respect your views. I have to discuss with you. I have to have discussion to reach to a conclusion to build the country.
Okay, but if your dream is true and you say one day it will come true, and you are sitting out of the country and you are expecting the people living in Syria, they must think like you. How it is possible while they are living in Syria?
There should be actually out of the country and inside the country.
You are safe because out of the country. If they
No,
are
no,
in
no.
the country, they are unsafe. They cannot think like you.
There is integration between between the Syrian outside of the country and the Syrian inside the country. It should be integration. So here, I'm not telling you maybe the things will be changed in Syria, not in my life. The French Revolution, after 5 years, they killed Maximilien Robespierre, who is the godfather of the revolution. So there is a chaos also. I cannot, the revolution, usually there is no Yves Saint Laurent revolution or Versace revolution. In dictatorship countries, I mean. So we are working, I work peacefully to build the peace, to build the peace in my country, to make the point of view closer among Syrians with different views. I want to really bridge myself. I'm talking about myself now, and we have millions of Syrians like me, and I like them, like which it's such as me, and I am such as them. We are trying, but
here you are looking. Here you are looking a revolutionary leader more than a journalist.
No, as I told you, I answer you as a citizen.
All right. Right. Thank you very much, Mr. You talked to me and my channel and spared your precious time for us. I thank you very much again and respect your views, and these views should go to people and I pray for your dream it may come true. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.